victimized groups. We have a large portion of trans people within our community. Domestically speaking, over the last 3 years, almost 4 now, we've seen an onslaught of anti-trans legislation within America. 2023, over 500 anti-trans bills within state houses. Do you, one, feel like the House of Reps is doing enough to try and protect trans people? And do you think that within the kind of fractured coalition of both the Democratic Party and Republican Party and that narrow split, do you think that we can, through the national legislature, codify some kind of protections for trans people?
I mean, yes. And yes, in terms of codifying, no, in terms of current members are not doing enough. I, for the last 2.5 years, helped fight to enshrine abortion care and gender affirming therapy in Maryland state constitution. I want to take that fight at the federal level. What I tell people is, I am not part of the LGBTQ community. I know that I have privilege. And that's why I believe it is important for people who are not in the community to use whatever platforms we have to normalize the experience, to even do something as small as state your pronouns when you're introducing yourself, right? It's a small measure, but it normalizes the experience for so many people who are forced and made to feel like the other just for who they are or who they love or how they identify. The other thing I speak about, again, when building these coalitions is you don't need to fully understand the nuances of gender identity to know that each person knows who they are better than anyone else. And so in that fight for equality, I was the first candidate, at least in my race, to even have an LGBTQ rights platform on my website that looks at every issue comprehensively. I talk about prohibiting all public schools in this nation from banning pride flags or preventing students from playing on sports teams that are consistent with their identity. I talk about federally protecting access to safe abortions and gender affirming therapy. I talk about having comprehensive sex ed in all of our public schools, which covers everything from abstinence to contraceptives to consent to gender identity. I talk about having anti-discrimination when it comes to adoption and foster care systems, to blood donations, tied into the living wage, affordable housing, preventing discrimination from landlords in the housing situation, making sure we actually have free public college, cancel student debt, Medicare for all. All those issues, again, are complicated. There's a lot. But when you're speaking about how to actually walk the walk and elevate those issues, all of those things need to be addressed, can be addressed, and it comes with people at all levels of government, let alone Congress, to use the levers of government, fight for that funding, have those regulations, and propose new pieces of legislation like the ones I was mentioning.